Okay, officially, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Thursday. Looks a little cloudy out there right now and rainy, but it's going to be a nice weekend. So maybe you can get outside and move around, see the sun. You have to if you're going to live in Vancouver in the winter, when the sun comes out, you've got to get out and enjoy it because it's not here every day, so. Mhm. So you've got to go for a walk or something. You got to get outside. Um, so Mir is here. Good morning, Mir. Where are you here? There you are. Good morning, Mir. Anna's here. Good morning, Anna. Um, yeah, let's jump in. So, um, yesterday we were talking about socialization, of course, that process by which we learn the beliefs and the values and the norms of our culture. It's happened to us all already, right? You've all been socialized, and it continues to happen, right? Every day we are kind of very subtly socializing each other, getting each other to follow the rules, rewarding each other when we follow the rules, punishing each other a little bit when we don't. So we're all kind of involved in this kind of process of social control, right? Um, Again, I was trying to make the point yesterday that yes, sometimes we are directly taught these things, but a lot of stuff we just kind of absorb, right? We just kind of it gets into the programming, and you don't really know how it got there. And if I can kind of extend my computer analogy, it's almost like a virus or malware, right? If you've ever had your computer and it's picked up a virus or it's picked up malware or a Trojan horse or something like that, you know that these things you get them somehow, right? You don't know how they got into your computer, right, or when, but they're there, right? They're doing something in the background, right? The program is running. You don't really know what it's doing. You don't see any evidence of it on the screen usually, but it's there, right? And the only distinction I want to make here is that, for our computers, most of the time, viruses and malware are bad, right? We want to clear those off our computer. But some of these social messages are not necessarily bad, right? But we do kind of get them downloaded like malware or like a virus, right? We just kind of pick them up somewhere. We don't know where we picked them up, and they just kind of sit in the background, right, in our subconscious. And we have these ideas, and sometimes we don't even know that we have them, right? And so our exercise yesterday, where we looked at all of these people, kind of showed us just that. We had lots of ideas about people, and we were able to make some judgments, right? We were able to make a guess at who these people are or were or are based on some of those things that we know about people. And again, we're probably not sure why we know those things or how we came to know them, but we just do, right? And so again, they kind of run in the background, these kind of ideas about people and things, and to some degree they work like a filter, right? So they're almost like a pair of glasses where you're kind of looking through the world based on what you know, right? Based on your socialization, based on your culture, right? We're all kind of looking through this lens, and that's part of why we see things differently as well, right? We said that positionality, right? Position speaking, we're all different, right? We're, look at all those geese. Wow. Because we're different, because some of us are men or women or this race or that race or tall or short or whatever it is, we all kind of move through the world and experience it slightly differently, right? And we're treated by society differently as well. But in addition to that, we're also looking at society through our own kind of lens, right? We're kind of interpreting things based on our own background, based on our own socialization, right? So for that reason, it's possible that we could all be looking at the same thing, the same event, and we could all see it very differently, right? Again, because of our positionality, but also because of what we bring with our socialization, right? The way we the lenses through which we see the world. Okay? So, yeah, we just kind of absorb these messages. We don't really know how we came to know them, but we do, right? And we use them to kind of move through the world and interpret things, make judgments, understand what's going on, all of these things, right? Now, what does this slide say here? Okay, that basically says what I said. That's good. Okay. Oh, and yeah, but the one last thing, I added this slide after one class because I said what I just said, but then I thought about it that night and I said, but keep in mind that, you know, the social groups we belong to, the cultures we come from, that doesn't entirely define the way we see things, right? And I think when I said this before, we all kind of intuitively knew it, but, you know, I don't think the same as every other white male Canadian, right? I'm different. I'm my own unique person. Do we kind of share a general outlook on things? To some degree, right? Canadians are, you know, we're kind of all alike, or most of us are kind of alike in a certain way, right? There's a certain way of being Canadian, right? That we're all kind of sort of like. But again, we're not identical. And so I don't see things the same as every white male in Canada, right? And so every Muslim woman does not see things the same way, right? Every, I don't know, Muslim man doesn't see things the same way, right? Everyone has kind of their own perspective and their own ideas, but they also kind of share backgrounds, right? And that kind of gives us kind of a common place to start from sometimes. But then, as I say, there's lots of things that, you know, a group of people who maybe are quite similar might disagree on, right? So yeah, it's important to think about group memberships and culture and socialization, but that doesn't totally define us, right? We're all unique people. Oh, okay. Oh yeah. Sorry, it's all coming back to me now. Yesterday I had you read this section of the textbook, right? We talked about peer group socialization and family socialization and social institutions. So in the first questions, I think it was pretty clear that we were talking about, is the family doing the socialization, or are your peers, right? The people around you who are kind of similar to you, right? Same age, same kind of social or economic class, maybe same hobbies, maybe having just the same experience, right? Your peers are all in school with you here, and you're all roughly the same age, having a similar experience here at school. I think. You seem to be making the argument yesterday that peer socialization was really the more important one, or the stronger one, and yeah, I think I can agree with that. I don't know which one is. I don't even know how you would measure it, but I think I'll take your word for it. The second part we were talking about right when we finished class was the idea of social institutions. And what is a social institution? I won't be happy until you tell me what it is, because I know it's a tricky one. Jen's just like, oh God, it's too early for this.
Is it like a temple?
Is it like a?
Like a religious place or something?
It can have to do with religion. Again, an institution is kind of not really a place. It's more of like an abstract thing, right? Although it can have locations associated with it. It can have buildings associated with it, right? What's an example of a social institution? Religion is? What's another one?
Community.
Sorry? School, yeah. The education as a whole, right? What else? Community. I don't know if community would be considered one. I don't know. Maybe, but I don't think so. What else?
Media.
The media, right? Huge important social institution. What else? Government, right?
Could you say that society?
What?
Family.
Family?
Society?
No, society is kind of like the
Whole thing.
big thing in which these institutions operate, right? It's the bubble, if you will, in which everything is enclosed. Maybe if if you know your biology, or if you like your biology, society is like a cell, right? And inside the cell, you have all those little organelles, those little, what did they have? The mitochondria and like the Golgi complex, and the nucleus, and what else? There's all kinds of. I haven't taken biology for like 25 years. Um, there's there's all those little, there's all those little things floating around in the cell, and they all have a job, right? They all do something in the cell. And similarly here, society is the cell, right? The little bubble in which everything is. And then all those little organelles are social institutions. They're all kind of doing something for the cell, right? So, yeah, family, religion, government, education, media, the military, all of these things are little organelles of society. And government, yes. Politics, no. Politics is kind of I guess it's kind of, morning, Crazio. I guess politics is more like the art and science of governing and running for office and leading. I think that's kind of politics. But the government definitely is one, right? And so all of these little social institutions, they have a job to do, right? Whether it's producing and raising children, educating children and young people, giving people faith and teaching them morality, right? Running the society, right? Like the government does. The media spreading information and entertaining us, right? The military protecting us, hopefully, or attacking other people. They all have a job to do, but they also kind of reproduce society as it is, right? Particularly the family and the family and the education system, right? It kind of has a function of kind of replicating society as it always was, right? And so, for instance, your grandparents, good morning. Your grandparents had kids, right? They raised those kids, and then those kids, your parents, they had you, right? And they kind of raised you maybe roughly the same as they were raised, right? They probably made some changes, right? They probably said, "Oh gosh, I hated when my parents did this, so I'm never doing that with my kids," right? So they probably changed some things, but mostly they probably raised you kind of the way they were raised, right? And when you guys have kids, you'll probably do the same thing, right? You'll mostly raise them the way your parents did. You'll probably make a few changes, right? You'll say, "No, I don't want to do that thing that my parents always did. I hated that." And so you'll do something different, but mostly you'll do the same, right? And so families kind of replicate themselves, right? Over and over, and some changes get made, but still we reproduce those things, right? School's the same thing, right? School kind of reproduces society as it already is, right? And really, it hasn't radically changed very much in a long time, right? Even if we went back 100 years, we would see a teacher at the front of the room and students sitting here, listening, taking notes, reading, writing, doing the same kind of things, right? So school hasn't radically changed even in 100 years, right? It kind of reproduces itself, right? And of course, we're all very used to it because we've all gone to school for so long. Our parents went to school, our grandparents went to school, and so, it's kind of the same thing over and over. I'm getting off on a tangent. Okay, so that's what social institutions are. Now, the last thing, this might be tricky to talk about here, but let's give it a shot. The textbook mentioned the idea of a hidden curriculum, right? So the curriculum itself is what you're actually learning, right? We have to learn all of these physics concepts and formulas and how to apply them, right? Or we have to learn about social justice and equality and race and sexism and all that stuff, right? That's the curriculum. But then the textbook said, but there's a hidden curriculum. There's other things you're being taught in school, kind of on the DL, right? What's this hidden curriculum? What are you being taught to do? Or what have you been taught to do growing up? Yeah, what kind of behaviors? What kind of behaviors have you been kind of taught?
Like norms?
Yeah. Yeah, what kind of norms? Specifically in school.
Respect each other.
Right. So our teachers teach us how to interact with each other and respect each other, right? My fiance teaches, she's a teacher too. She teaches a grade 6-7 split. And surprisingly, not a lot of her time, but she does spend a lot of time trying to sort of teach kids how to interact with each other, right? And how to behave, right? You know, when you lie to someone, this is what happens, right? You violate their trust, and then they can't trust you anymore. And then the next time you really need them to trust what you're telling them, you can't do it because they lied to you before, right? And so she does actually spend a lot of time teaching kids about proper behavior, you know, the consequences of making bad choices, right? She spends a lot of time doing that. And I think as you get even younger, teachers spend even more time, right, teaching kids that kind of stuff, right? Those social skills, how to interact with each other. What else do we learn in school that's really not on the curriculum?
Some basic skill you need to realize.
Okay, like what?
You just like you need to have some knowledge.
Yeah?
Yeah, and you can use the knowledge maybe in future you can put the world like those knowledge.
Yeah. But I'm kind of thinking more about, not so much about the knowledge, but the things that are kind of, you don't realize you're being taught. Yeah, sometimes, right? We do use schools to communicate what's right and wrong, right? What's good and bad. And again, my fiance is doing that, right? She's trying to tell her kids, you know, it is good to be honest, right? When someone asks you, don't lie to them, tell them the truth, right? So we learn a little bit about that, right? What other kind of things do we learn? Think maybe about smaller kids. It might be easier. What's that? Gender norms, yeah, right? Schools might kind of reproduce the idea of, you know, what it is to be, what little boys are like and what little girls are like, right? Some schools might try not to do that so much, but in the past, yeah, we've treated girls and boys differently, right? And so gender norms are kind of taught and reinforced there. That's a good one, Cleo. What else?
I think the school also like the real society, so you can practice how to social in the school.
Say that one more time?
The school are like a real society.
Yeah.
And the student can practice how to get social with the others in the school.
Oh, that is interesting. That's an interesting idea. Yeah, the idea that school is like a little mini society, right? And so you're kind of practicing for real society, right? And yeah, in a way you you're interacting with different kinds of people, right? As you get into maybe junior high and high school, sometimes there's a bit of a social hierarchy, right? There's kids that are kind of have a lot of status and power, right? They're popular, they're cool. There are kids like me who are kind of at the bottom and not popular and not cool. I know it's hard to believe when you see me now. You're thinking like, of course, right? But yeah. Yeah, we kind of figure out how to work in that environment, right? How to kind of negotiate that power structure, if you will, right? That's a good one. That's a good one. What else are we taught in school that's not on the curriculum?
Respect.
Yeah, respect, right? How to respect others, how to respect people higher up than us, hopefully how to respect ourselves, right? Hopefully we're taught that. The textbook I know mentions a few things like sitting still, right? And again, for you guys, that's not a problem, but of course for a bunch of 6-year-olds, really tough, right? It is tough for them to come in and sit down in their seat and stay there for an hour, right? That's a difficult thing to ask of them, right? So kind of teach them how to do that, right? We teach them how to sit still. We teach them how to be patient. Teach them how to pay attention, right? We teach them how to have a schedule, right? Maybe at home with mom and dad, they just kind of do whatever mom and dad says when they say it, right? But at school, there's times, right? Class starts at a certain time, and then lunch is at a certain time, right? You get people to follow a time schedule, right? We get them to work with rules, right? And work with bureaucracy, right? Work with people who have authority and power who aren't our parents, right? And that's new, right? Not anymore, not for you guys, but for a young kid entering school at 5 or 6, now they've got to figure out, oh, there's this other person in charge, right? There's a teacher, there's a principal, they're not mom or dad, but I have to listen to them too, right? Do you think hidden curriculums are good, or do you think they're bad, or do you think they're a bit of both, or?
For me, it sounds pretty shady.
Mm-hmm. The hidden part, right?
Hidden part.
Yeah. I guess it does sound a little shady that way, for sure, right? But again, it's stuff that's not, it's not explicit, right? It's not sitting there on the syllabus. Today we will learn to sit still, right? That doesn't happen, right? You learn to sit still while you're doing other things, right? How do you learn to interact with other kids? Well, or how to cooperate with other kids? Group project, right? We're not teaching you how to work in a group, but also we are, right? You are getting practice working with other students, right? So yeah, it sounds a little shady, but it's just not, it's not upfront, right? It's not on the paper. It's one of those things that are taught in the process. You guys are unopinionated on this subject. Are you uninspired? Are you kind of like, whatever? Do you have other thoughts about your schooling? Good or bad? What has been, okay, let me ask this. If you think about your school career from when you started to now, would you say that you've enjoyed school? More or less? I know we've all had, days that were crappy, or, teachers that we really didn't like or whatever. I know that happens, but overall, would you say you liked it or not so much? Cleo, yeah? Yeah? Really? Really? Why? What did you like about it? Why would you say it was Cleo? Why would you say it was a positive experience? Because you get to learn new things? Yeah? Okay. Right? Chen, what about you?
Well, same thing, and we can socialize with each other here.
The
meet
social,
new people.
yeah, the social aspect, right? You get to meet other people and hang out and, okay. Abtej, what do you think? Yay? Nay?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's teaching us a lot of things that probably we wouldn't have learned from just sitting at home.
Sure.
Yeah, that's true.
Like how to make friends, that's very important.
Yeah.
And if you didn't go to school, you probably wouldn't learn that.
Probably not, right? If you didn't go to school, you would probably learn different things. Good morning. That's true. What would you say, Arena? Did you enjoy school in the past? Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I was thinking about, Avatej was saying, things you learn in school that you wouldn't learn, if you didn't go to school, right? And so, but it's interesting because some people are talking about where education is going right now. And what they're talking about is the idea that they think, and I don't know if this will happen really, it's just people predicting the future, and we know that usually people are really bad at predicting the future. But they think that like everything will be in kind of micro credits and micro credentials. And so you'll kind of, you'll figure out what you need to learn, and then you'll just go and take like almost little mini courses in it, right? Like if you really needed to, learn how to use a certain program, you would just find like an online class somewhere, you would sign up and you would take it so that you knew how to do that program, right? And so you would kind of, it would kind of be like education as like a buffet, right? Where you would go around with your plate and you would just take all the things that you thought you wanted to learn or needed to learn and put them on your plate, right? Whereas now we just kind of bring you a plate and you have to eat it, right? Kind of thing, right? You get some choices, right? Salad or baked potato or something, right? We give you some choices, but we pretty much just give you the plate and say this is it, right? But people think in the future it'll be more customized. You'll be able to learn exactly what you want to learn and none of the stuff that you don't want to learn. But what do you think about that? Do you think that's exciting and a good idea, or do you think that that's not a good idea, or what? I know I just told you about it, but does that sound better or worse?
It depends on what grade or age, I think.
Well, definitely for older kids, like kids your age and university.
I think it's good.
You think good? Yeah? Yeah. Or whatever you feel you need to learn, right? Whatever career you want to go into, you figure out what you need to know, and then you go pick it, right? Think that's better? Yeah? I don't know, I'm still on the fence. Like, this is the tough thing, is that when something new comes along, and you're someone like me who's very used to a different system, you always want to like find fault with it, right? You always want to like shoot it down. And like I wonder, because obviously I've done it the old way, right? Where you just take what you're supposed to take. Even in university, you have more choice, but there's still some things that you don't have a choice in. And I mean, I took classes that I didn't want to take, and I didn't really enjoy them. I got my credit and I moved on, and I didn't get anything out of them. But then, I did take classes that were kind of a surprise, right? That were more interesting than I thought they would be. And I kind of learned things that maybe I wouldn't have chosen to learn on my own. And so, I don't know, like there's one thing is like if you had perfect choice, then yes, you could perfectly choose what you want, but then yeah, you kind of miss out on trying something new if you're that kind of person that doesn't like to try new things. But also, like you can't, sometimes there's always accidents, right? Like so many actors out there, like popular, like big Hollywood names, the story of them becoming an actor is that they never dreamed of becoming an actor. They went to university, they went to college, and then they had to take one more class, so they picked drama because they thought it would be easy. And they fell in love with acting and became an actor, right? They didn't intend to take that class, they just kind of had to, right? They just picked it and they're like, okay, this looks easy, I'll do it. And then, they discovered something that they never would have discovered otherwise. And so that's kind of what I worry about, is if you can make all your own choices, it sounds good, and it probably is good, but you kind of miss out on the opportunity to discover something that you never would have thought about, right? Or, to find something that you just didn't know existed. So I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence, But then who knows? Who knows where education will go? Again, people are really bad at predicting the future. In the 1950s, everyone thought we'd have flying cars by now. Flying around in cars, and we'd have, we would just like push a button in the house and the house would just like clean itself somehow. Yeah. That did not happen, right? So yeah, we're really bad at predicting the future. I don't know what's gonna happen, but I don't know. Crazio, you like school overall?
Yeah.
Yeah? Yeah, it's all right. David, you too?
I feel like school right now for me like is like a big table of food.
Uh-huh. And you're not hungry?
Like I don't have, right now at the moment I don't have like a plate like a cosmos
Uh-huh.
to do for my career. So
Right.
yeah, I just take all
Just like
socialization.
putting it all on,
Yeah.
seeing what you like. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you wind up going to university, university's good. The first year of university is good for that too, right? Because you have a lot more choice the first year, and so yeah, you can choose a bunch of different things if you don't know what you want to do, and just kind of see what feels good, right? Or if you're really interested in politics, take political science and see if you're right? See if you really are interested in it, because sometimes we think we are and then we're not, right? When we try it out, right? You think something will be cool and then you kind of try it and then you're like, this is not as fun as I thought it was going to be, right? Yeah, it's really. Adon, do you like school overall?
Yeah.
So interesting. Wow. I hated school so much. Almost all the way through. There was a few years that were okay. But yeah, I really didn't enjoy it. Yeah, really didn't enjoy it. The only time I enjoyed it was when I got to university. Then I liked it a lot more. But from K to 12, yeah, I was just not into it. No, didn't like it. Oh well. So let me just see here. Okay, so this is just the peer group socialization, the social institutions. We've talked about that. Yes. This is what I would like to do next. Okay? Now, yeah. Now, has anyone ever seen this movie before?
Yes.
Is it good?
Great.
It's great?
Yes, before I watched it last turn.
Oh yeah. It's epic, right? So Mean Girls here is a Hollywood film that I would like to watch with you now. And it seems like a weird choice, okay? I'm sure this seems like not the kind of movie that you would normally watch in social justice, right? But as it turns out, it is very, very useful for talking about all kinds of different things. So it's kind of entertaining and funny, right? It's also managed to, it hasn't really dated, it hasn't really kind of aged very much. So even though it's 2004, is that 18 years ago? Is that what that is? Am I doing the math right?
Yeah.
Holy cow, that's a long time ago. But it still kind of doesn't feel too old, So it still kind of resonates, I think, with people. As I say, it's kind of a funny movie. It's well written. It has a good message in it. But it's also very good for talking about all of the things we've been talking about. Social norms, beliefs, values, the socialization process, social stratification. All of these are kind of happening in this movie. And so it's very useful to watch just for that reason, just to give us some examples of how some of these things work. So again, it may seem like an odd choice, but it really isn't. Plus now because I show this movie in class, I've seen this movie like 10 times now. And so I can quote it to my fiance, which she really loves. She loves that I can quote this movie, but anyway. So that's what we'll do. And while we're watching here, oh yeah, so I'll set it up. So the kind of premise of this movie is this teenage girl here, Katie Heron. She's someone who's never really been to a real school. Okay, so her parents are biologists. They've been working in Africa for years and years, and they've kind of homeschooled her, right? So they've been teaching her as she's grown up. But for whatever reason, her parents got a job at a university in the United States. So they come back from Africa, they come home, and they put her into a high school to do her last couple years of high school, I think. So she kind of gets dropped into this new environment, and she kind of has to figure it out, right? She has to figure out how it works. And so, just give me 1 second here. I'm just going to call up, because I do have some questions that I want you to answer. There are things that I want you to pay attention while we're watching this movie. Here it is. I'm just popping them into Microsoft Teams here. Okay, and there we go. Okay, so I've just popped them into Microsoft Teams, but I'll put them on the screen here now. So these are things I want to pay attention to in the movie. There's more than this. As I said, this movie is just full of good stuff to talk about. Again, Katie is homeschooled before she arrives at a regular public high school in the United States. What kind of things does she not know, and why doesn't she know them? We'll see in the film here, the high school has a number of different social groups in it. What can we say about these groups with regard to social norms? Okay, so how can we use social norms to kind of understand some of these groups? And what kind of determines what group someone belongs to in the high school? Okay, these will make sense when you see it. There's one group called the Plastics. They have special rules. What are they, and how do they enforce those rules? One of these girls, Gretchen, you'll meet Gretchen very shortly. She says at one point, it's better to be in a group than not in a group. And so, why is that? Katie will start to act like Regina. Regina is another girl that we'll meet. What does this tell us about socialization? And number 6 won't make any sense until you see the movie, but Regina wears sweatpants and has to sit at another table. And so, what is this demonstrating to us about socialization? Okay. Again, it doesn't make sense until you've seen it, but you will see it. So, those are the questions. They're in Microsoft Teams, so you can look at Teams while you're watching the movie, and you can kind of keep track and answer those questions so that we can talk about them later. So here in class, I'm gonna show this on the screen here because I can. But as you might guess, I can't live stream a Hollywood movie on my YouTube channel. They will take that video down. But you can watch it for free if you're at home. So if you're at home and you have Netflix or Amazon Prime and you know it's there, you can watch it. You can watch it on a streaming service if you have access. I think it's on Netflix, but don't quote me on that. But you don't have to do that because we do have access to it through Columbia College Library. So if you're at home, if you go to the Columbia College website, if you click on Library, it'll take you to this, and what you'll do is you'll click on Find Materials there at the bottom left. At some point you'll have to put in your login information. I forget where it is, if it's before that or after. And then once you get in there, once you go Find Materials, you'll go to Streaming Videos at the bottom. Okay, so you click on Streaming Videos, and then it will take you to this kind of page. And what you're going to do is you're going to click on, that little hand is in the wrong place. You'll click on Criterion on Demand, okay, that first entry there. And when you get there, it'll take you to something that looks like this. Just type in Mean Girls and search it, and it will pop up for you. So you can watch it on a streaming platform if you have it. If you don't, you can watch it through here for free. So either way, we're covered. Okay. Yeah. So that's kind of what we'll do. But maybe what we'll do is we'll just take a quick. Let's take a break first, and then we'll get into the movie. Okay. So take a 10-minute break. Come back. When we get back, we'll jump into Mean Girls here and see what we can learn. Okay, so we are back. Like I said, we're gonna watch Mean Girls. I have some questions for you. They're in Microsoft Teams, so you can keep track while we go through the movie. Um, Again, I'll back up here a few slides. So for online people, just in case you missed it, um, there we go. You're going to either find a streaming platform that you have access to that has it, or go to Columbia College, click on Library, click on Find Materials, click on Streamed Videos or Streaming Videos, and then go to Criterion on Demand, and then you can search for Mean Girls in the little window there, okay? So again, if you don't have access to it on a streaming platform, you can watch it here for free, and you're all set, okay? So got about 9 o'clock. Let's watch about 25 minutes, okay? So I'm gonna say, yeah, so if you're at home, I guess that's just Anna or Mir. If you're at home, watch the first 25 minutes, and then we'll stop, we'll come back here, we'll talk a little bit about what we've seen, and then that'll be the end of class for today, okay? So online people, I'll turn you loose um, to watch that, and we'll of course watch it here in class. So see you in just a little bit, okay? Let's see. Okay, so there we go. How are we doing so far? You can't see me. That's okay. How are we doing so far? Okay? Fine. Everybody's gruel. I was so excited. I actually did that myself a few weeks ago. I was to my fiance. I was gonna say something, and I was gonna say sure, and I was gonna say cool at the same time, so it came out school. Then I was like, oh, I did a Mean Girls. School. Okay. Okay, so a couple quick questions here. So, well, actually, what are my questions? Hang on. I don't have them in front of me. Oh, yeah. She was homeschooled before she arrived at this public high school. What kind of social rules did she not know?
Every rule.
Every rule? Like what? Yeah, she didn't know that you had to ask permission to go to the bathroom, and apparently you need a pass of some sort, right, in this school. She had no idea that that was how it worked. What else does she not know?
To define what kind of person is good or bad.
Yeah, she seems to be kind of like socially clueless, right? And Janice and Damien are trying to help her with that, right? She's trying to say that, these people are like this, these people are like this, these people are awful, we're the best people you'll ever meet, right? So she's trying to, socially educate Katie, right? What else does she not know?
She don't know if class is a good thing.
She doesn't know what?
Just joke.
If class is a good thing?
Just joke.
Just joking?
Only the bad students skip the class.
Right.
Right.
Oh yeah, she was kind of a little unsure about skipping that class, right? What else?
The teacher's gonna yell.
Yeah, the teachers were they were yelling at her for a bunch of things, right? Like what? What were they yelling?
No green pen.
What? Oh yeah, no green pen. Horrible. Crazio, what else? What were they yelling about?
No food.
No food in class.
No what?
No food in the class.
No food in the class. Sit in your assigned seat. Don't read ahead. Right? All of these things, right? And yeah, she's not used this is that hidden curriculum, right? That we were talking about. All of these things that we kind of know from going to school forever and ever. But she has, like Crazio said, she has no idea, right? She doesn't know any of this stuff, right? She doesn't know that she needs to ask for permission to go to the bathroom. She doesn't know that she shouldn't read ahead. She doesn't know that there are assigned seats. She doesn't know that there are certain colors of pen that you should and shouldn't use, right? So yeah, there's all these things that she doesn't know. And some of it is kind of social, right? She doesn't really understand how the school works in terms of its social interaction and its social hierarchy, right? She doesn't really get that. She doesn't really understand the hidden curriculum. She doesn't understand all of the little rules that everybody at school has learned that she hasn't learned, right? And why doesn't she know these things? Because she's homeschooled, but give me that answer in a social justicey socialization kind of way.
She don't have the experience to commute with a lot of with bunch of same age child with her. So that's why when he get to socialize with the others, will make she look so embarrassed.
Yeah. She really doesn't have a lot of experience in this social environment, right? With all these kind of different kids of her own age, right? And she's kind of, if you will, she's been dropped into a new society, right? This is a brand new little bubble for her. And Crazio, I think you pointed out before that school is like a little society, right? So here she is, she's been dropped into this new society, and has she been socialized? No, right? She has not been socialized in this society. She doesn't know any of the beliefs or values or norms, right? She doesn't know what to think about people or things, right? She wants to join the mathletes, or she's thinking about joining the mathletes, but the others are like, what are you doing? That's social suicide, right? Is the value at this school on intelligence and smarts? Are the mathletes the coolest kids in school because they're so smart?
No.
No, right? The high school, in terms of the students anyway, they don't really value intelligence in that way, right? What do they value? Football? Yeah.
Some sport and yeah, something not out of knowledge.
Money, good look.
Appearance, good looks, money, football, right? And you're right, those are the people who are at the top of the hierarchy, right? The top of the pyramid. The jocks, the football players, and the plastics, right? Girls like Regina and Gretchen and Karen, right? They have money, they're pretty, they're very fashionably dressed, right? And they're the ones who are at the top. So yeah, this little society's values are very apparent because we see who rises to the top, right? And the mathletes are not up there because this little society doesn't really value intelligence that way, right? Or at least that much. So yeah, she hasn't really been socialized. She doesn't understand any of the beliefs or values or norms of this little bubble, right? Of this little society. So the high school has a bunch of these different social groups, right? And Janice is nice enough to draw a little map for Katie. And who are some of these groups? Right? Asian nerds are there. Who else? The cool Asians. I guess you can't be both at the same time. You're either a cool Asian or you're a nerdy Asian, I guess. I don't know. What do I know? What's that?
Just joke.
What other groups are there?
The African American.
Yeah, there's is there one group? There's one group. Yeah, it was the unfriendly black hotties, right? Who else was there? Yeah, there was the jocks. Sorry, Chen, what did you say a minute ago? Oh, the plastics, right? The three girls that we met there. The plastics. Who else are there?
The British people.
The what?
The British people.
The which people?
The British people.
Oh, oh yeah, Damien and Janice, the greatest people you will ever meet. Okay, we'll see. Who else? The who? Oh, the desperate wannabes, right? The people who really want to be popular and cool, but of course, because they want to be so badly, they're really not. Crazy, what did you say before?
The worst.
The worst people? The plastics?
Like Regina,
Yeah, the plastics are the worst, according to Janice and Damien, right? Who else is there? There's sexually active band geeks,
Oh yeah.
right? There's the girls who eat their feelings, right? There's the girls who don't eat anything. They're all sharing a Diet Coke. There's the burnouts, right? The kids who smoke a lot of marijuana. Did I miss anybody? There's the preppy guys, right? I don't know if anyone does that term get used at all? Do you guys ever use the word preppy to describe anyone?
What is that?
What is that? I think it's kind of like, I think the preppy guys are kind of like stylish and cool and maybe like a little wealthy, but they're not really into sports or football. So they're kind of like the male version of the plastics. Yeah. So cool, stylish, maybe a little bit rich, good looking usually, but not really into sports usually. Yeah, they may not use that word anymore. So yeah, we have a bunch of these different little social groups, right, floating around the high school. And that's about all the time we have. So maybe what we'll do is we'll pause there. We'll come back tomorrow. We'll talk about a couple more of these questions and then we'll jump back in. Good movie so far?
Yeah.
Or at least watchable? Watchable. Okay.
Pretty messy.
What's that?
Pretty messy.
Pretty messy? Well, it's going to get messier. Okay, so that's all for today then. Pack it up. I'll see you tomorrow where we'll have Friday, which is awesome. Okay. Okay, see you tomorrow, guys.